Welcome back to Retro Wednesday at the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about the most valuable and expensive action figures in my collection for vintage. And not all of these toy lines are exactly highly sought after. Some are, though. And so with that, some of the figures just never really had a huge run, so there's not very many of them out there, which is part of why they're expensive, valuable, rare, and hard to find. And with that, we're going to get into this. I've been wanting to do something like this for a while. This is probably my third volume of rarest vintage figures that are out there. And this is more fun because this is stuff that I have in hand instead of just pictures like I've done in the past. And if I ever do another one, the next volume of this far in the future is going to be the grails that I still want to pick up, which there's not very many, so that'd be a short video. But anyway, let's get in and take a look at the Titanium Hangar's rarest figures from each line. And I'm probably going to progressively add more to this as we go. This probably isn't everything, this one picture, this one shot coming up. All right, first off, we are going to take a look at Star Wars. Star Wars kind of gets left behind or forgotten about, and my channel started with Star Wars, so we'll start this video with Star Wars. These figures are the droids figures from the very end of the run. So these three here, and then this is Yakface. So we'll get into the droids figures first. This is Vlix, which was... this is one of the few international releases that's on this list, and I only included them just because I'm including these guys. But these guys were also, I believe these were released in the US, but they're hard to find, and they make good KOs nowadays. I hear from all of these, but they're generally pretty expensive. The KOs pretty much $100 a figure for just knockoffs, 80 to 100 bucks a figure. And originals, you can go anywhere from 500 to 1,000 on these guys, and an original Vlix is probably $5 at this point. Oh yeah, if you haven't watched my channel before, I'm not afraid to talk about money and dollars and what I spent and what stuff's worth, so there it is. But this is Yakface, and so my original Yakface, which this is actually a stand solo, and because I don't want to do anything to mess up my original is absolutely perfect. I think the way you find out is like the inner thigh or something. But stand solo looks almost exactly, it's almost impossible to tell the difference, except for that one identification. But my original one, I paid like 82 pounds from the UK, and after shipping and all that stuff, it was $118, and it's almost perfect, pristine, mint. Nowadays, they're going for like 600. I had my whole story where I was going to buy 10 for $1,500, and 4 of them were AFA graded. I wanted to. I thought for a whole week about it till it sold, and then I was like, well, I don't have that opportunity anymore. But Yakface is still the most expensive figure, unless you start getting into some really strange variants and all that. Forgot to mention, I was going to say at the beginning, and I forgot to do that, but what does everybody think? How much is on the table? How much do you guys think is everything in this collection? And I'll answer it at the end, I think, how much I think it is. But anyway, G.I. Joe. It's these weird color variants. This one here is a Listen and Fun tripwire. He's got different color accessories, and he's just a recolor. But then again, Starduster is more or less a whole new character made a recolor now. This is a Black Major, so probably only worth like 50 bucks. But I got him for like 25 bucks. The problem is, I don't care if the rarest of the rare figures are Black Major or customs in my collection, because I just can't bring myself to spending $400 and $500. So he's a $400 or $500 figure original. This is about a $400 figure. If he's 100% complete and not missing his bombs back there like mine is, but or his mines. So with that, these are representations of the rarest figures, probably still not worth a whole lot. I'm sure everyone's disappointed in the G.I. Joe segment. I don't really mind. It is what it is. Superpowers, Kenner Superpowers from back in the day. These are the two rarest in my collection, hardest to find. We do have, I don't even know if his function works properly. His head goes down and then you squeeze the legs. Or is it the arm? Yeah, I squeeze the arm and his head pops up. So he's usually got a broken arm, but he is about a $150 figure, something like that, $130 figure if he's got a good arm. This one breaks because you're putting all that pressure on it, and it's not spring loaded like this one, so it's not made for that type of pressure, and that's why it breaks over time. It's just what it is. And then we have good old Cyborg, who is by far the most expensive. I got mine for like $330 $30 or something like that. But a lot of people are going to pay a whole lot more than that just because you got to get them at the right time when the right person's selling it and no one else is buying at that time, which is right now is probably a good time. You might score a deal. Mine's not perfect. See, I've got some chrome wear, a little bit of chrome wear. It's not a big deal to me, and I think that's why the seller let it go for, wasn't trying to get the 700 or 800 that people think it's worth, or 1,000, because of the little bit of chrome wear right there. So I'm okay with a little chrome wear. He looks fantastic from the front, and this guy looks good too. He's way up there. How's the weather up there, Plastic Man? But yeah, these are pretty expensive figures for the Kenner Superpowers toy line. Next up, we got Bionic 6, which is one of my favorite toy lines, the top 5, simply because of the fact it's just had a huge impact on me, and I've always liked it, and I've always been collecting it. It feels like I never stopped collecting it. So with that, this is the most expensive bad guy, and I just grabbed one out of my display. I have multiples, so I can have them in displays and stuff, so that's a lot of fun. And with that, the hard part for him isn't really, you can probably get him for like $20 or $30, but with his backpack and all that, he's expensive. This thing's supposed to go up. Mine's kind of stuck. I'm always afraid of these. I am terrified of breaking one of these. Anyhow, probably about $80 figure. The toy line, Bionic 6 is not that expensive and hard to collect. Loose, in somewhat decent condition, not perfect condition. The JD IQ is the most expensive, probably about $150 to $180 complete in good condition. Maybe you can score a deal at $120 to $150. The big problem is getting his hat and these pieces here. These pieces get lost in a lot of these accessories. Most people wouldn't know, like, oh, that is a Bionic 6 accessory. It's just not obvious because they make no sense. They make absolutely no sense. There he is from the back. But JD/IQ comes with a cowboy hat for some reason, and that's why I never really cared about accessories. But I did have his accessories in my G.I. Joe crate. No, not this crate. That's Mask. But I had a G.I. Joe crate that I stuck all my Bionic 6 weapons in. I had my childhood ones, so I still have my childhood accessories, well, somewhere in my collection. But that's JDIQ and Chopper. Get to the chopper! The most expensive figure in the U.S. run of GoBots from Tonka was Tailpipe. Now, the red Tailpipe was the U.S. release, which I have, and I have it in both modes. But this is an international release. It's on the list because it's still the most expensive, the red one, but I haven't showcased the black one yet. This is a black one I got, I think, either from Canada or Japan. Can't remember, but it's a Japanese release. But with that, this sucker fetches like $300. I got mine for about $130, which I felt was the most reasonable priced one I've ever seen. But with prices coming down, you might be able to score one cheaper than that. Tailpipe from GoBots. Tri-Star Mash. Clinger and drag, and he is super washed out from the light. I don't know how to, I don't really know. It's like sometimes it feels too dark, sometimes it feels too light. Clinger in his pink lady costume outfit, and gotta say, people say that this was very controversial back in the day, and the story behind it is he just wanted to get kicked out of the military, and they never kicked him out. So he dressed up in drag every day, and he was still fighting in the war. So that's how they felt about that. And take it or leave it forever what you want. About a $50 to $75 figure. The hardest one to get in the entire toy line. By far the hardest. He's Lunk, he's in my head. Robotech Lunk is another one that is by far the most expensive and valuable. Right now everybody's wanting $250 for him. I paid $130 for mine back, I don't know, 2021 maybe? Because I had some Robotech stuff, but I sold it all off and then I recollected it. So that was one of those, it's one of those lines where I didn't have him in the first collection anyway, but had I done what I thought I was going to do and just go in and finish collect, I would have gotten him way cheaper. And I probably would have gotten a spare cheaper also, because we're talking 2018 and before the whole boom. And what I was doing at the time was looking at toy lines and saying, hey, which ones can I finish out? I've got half the toy line, let's get the other half. I've got a quarter of the toy line, maybe I won't go for the rest of it. I was doing Centurions pretty hard in 2018, so that's kind of how I did things, and I've been doing it like that forever, but 2020 changed the game, and definitely changed the price on him. People want ass astronomical amounts for Lunk. Let's go Ghostbusters. This is Prime Evil from the Filmation's Ghostbusters, not real Ghostbusters. And this is Jake. Not Jake Rockwell. All right. Let's start with Jake. His backpack is an expensive part, and it does break a lot. And then he's got his gun. The figure himself's only like a $30 figure. The accessories make him up to a $100 figure. So he's not the most expensive figure in the line. And I would say that Eddie is cheaper, but yet they share the same backpack. So if you can get I started picking up a couple of cheap Eddies so I can have a couple of extra backpacks. That was my plan back in the day. Prime Evil, because he has the soft goods, is an expensive figure. Now I've seen Prime Evil sell by himself for $20. It's easy to get. Seen his cape, or whatever you want to call his cape, sell for $60. So you'd think, okay, $80, but no, it's a pricing paradox. If you get them together, he's like a $150 figure. It's insane. It is insane getting them like this. But anyway, it's kind of fun to have this. I think I'm complete on the line. I think I'm 100%. I think I'm there. I think I've achieved 100% of the toy line. I've got to double check everything. Man, there's more Filmation Ghostbusters stuff coming from this channel, but I've got to repair a few things and do a few more reviews, playset reviews. Anyway, Prime Evil and Jake. Next, we're going to get into Cops and Crooks, and Long Arm and Bulletproof are the two most expensive and valuable figures. This is how I display them on the shelf. They stay in this motorcycle. This is a Blue Streak motorcycle, which is one of the cheapest and easiest vehicles to get. Not the cheapest and easiest vehicle, by the way, because it has easily broken breakage points, connection points. Story on these were that they were short run at the end or something along those lines, but I believe something different now after years of collecting and watching the market. I think that this is a beat cop here, Long Arm, and I do think he was short run. You just don't see that many of them that often. You don't see his accessories that often, but right now it's probably a good time to get one. I would suggest buy one that has some accessories, the other one has the rest of the accessories, and just get yourself an extra beat cop and one complete one of him. Generally runs about 120 to 150 complete. I do have his pan nightstick, but it's in a baggie because I don't want to lose it, and I forgot to get it out for this video, so it's not the end of the world. So basically what happens is this thing here, if you unravel it from my crazy mess that I've raveled it up, will extend and you can catch the bad guys. Really cool gimmick and idea. A handcuff that extends like that, but I have it wrapped up because I display him on a motorcycle like a beat cop, or like it would be maybe in the show. I don't know. He doesn't really ride the motorcycle much in the show. Anyway, let's put him there. This is Bulletproof, and he's got a suitcase with a cuff on it, and then he's got his gun, and they do pop caps. His gun pops caps too. He's got partly metal, partly real. He's a Silverhawk too, I guess. Partly metal, partly real. He comes with this soft goods. So the other thing about him is his soft goods. You can find him just a figure missing everything for probably $20-$30, but with the jacket, it starts getting real expensive, and all the accessories, he's a $100 figure. So $100, $120 or something like that. Most expensive figures in the line. You could argue Louis the Plumber with all of his accessories and an unbroke arm. So you start a lot of caveats there, but at the end of the day, I still think these two are the ones that people chase down the most and spend the most money on. I'm going to start doubling up so we can move a little bit faster here. This is Biker Mice 4x, and I do think he was not, maybe he wasn't available in the US. I don't really know. I don't remember. I didn't collect it at the time. I don't really know. I just know he's hard to get. I know he's like a $200, $300 figure with his accessories, about $400. I saw him for $450 with his accessories and said, no, I'll just get the figure. And then it cost me like $250 to get just the figure. And then if I can go back in time, would I pay the extra $20 to have $200 to have the accessories? Probably. I haven't seen another one since I bought this, and if it did, it just went like that. So I guess I'm lucky to have what little I have. Probably only see them pop up in the Eurozone area. Now this is Dune from LJN line that has the signature LJN action there. He comes with accessories. You can't hold them all at once, so that's why some of them get lost. But this is the Sarduka Warrior, or Sarduka. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Still, he's kind of cool. He's a true builder, so I think I have 5 or 6 of him. Not all complete, though, so, I mean, you can feel sorry for me now. And that's my catch line, my catchphrase. If I have more than one and one's not complete, you've got to feel sorry for me on that. But he is pretty cool. He's a fun looking figure. At the end of the day, though, doesn't do a whole lot. And well, at least this dude's got some knee and elbow articulation from 4x. So Micromice 4x, the Sartuka Warrior from Dune. All right, so at one point in time, these were about the same price or value. For whatever reason, I think something changed. I don't see more of these. This is the Killer Police Academy Captain Harris Melloway figure, hardest one to get. And when they ran out of them, they just started sending other random figures that were later in the line. And so very, very short run, hardest one to get. This one is Quicksilver from Silverhawks, but he's the ultrasonic Quicksilver. So let's move him to the back of the line here real quick. And hopefully there's not too much of a glare. And we'll take a look at this guy. So he does have the knock his hat off, hand gesture. Yeah. And then he's got binoculars that do, when you press in, it's like, ooga, ooga. And then he has his baton. Those are his accessories. So the figure itself, people are trying to get $250 out of the figure. I feel like the figure himself's a $100 figure. I figure about each one of the accessories are worth about $50 to $60. And altogether, at the end of the day, complete about a $400 figure this day and age, complete. But not everybody's willing to spend that kind of money. But a lot of people have, which is shocker. I did not get any of them complete. So I have a few of them to get one complete. I paid $100 a figure that each came with one or two accessories. And then I got a second one for $150. So that's how I have two complete. So I have other ones that are just, not complete. So now people feel sorry for me. Ultra Quicksilver here. Cool idea here because you have the mask that goes up and down. And then you've got some gold stuff here. Now, this I don't think has an action to it. You just move them down and then move them back up. But I might be wrong on that. But that's how mine works. And then there's like this piece in here I see like broken out somehow sometimes. I really don't understand a lot about this figure. I try to handle it as little as possible. And then you can shoot this. And I got to be real careful not to break it. And that's everything about Ultrasonic Quicksilver. And his little bird here is really cool. It's Tallyhawk, except a smaller and unarticulated Tallyhawk. That looks fantastic. There's the two. He used to be a $450 figure all day long, even missing Tallyhawk or broken and messed up to like $700 or $800. Now you can get a decent one for about $250, which is crazy. Price has dropped on him. This guy here used to be a lot cheaper, but now people want $400, $450 for a complete example. I will have to say though, it seems like there's a lot more of him available than him. I don't get it. All right, getting into LJN Dungeons and Dragons. This is the Ogre King Shield Shooter or version 2 and a recolor. And then this is Hockler, the one and only Hockler. These two are the most expensive. I would say complete in good condition about $350 to $400, and same thing here. Hard to tell because it's been so long since I've seen a complete one in good condition pop up for sale and see what it actually sold for. And some of the eBay stuff is shady. Like, you don't know what the best offer was accepted sometimes. So I don't know if that's a setting the seller puts on. So let's get into looking at Hockler. Hockler himself is the only version of Hockler, and he comes with a ton of stuff, and he's harder to get in the US. Even though he was released in the US, he's hard to get in the US because at the end of the line they shipped off most of it to the UK. It's easier to find it in the UK or in the Eurozone areas. He does come with this rubbery strap, which is hard to get. Comes with this knife dagger with a silver paint on it. It comes with this sheath for his arrows, for his bow and arrow, and he comes with a removable, kind of the same thing they did with G.I. Joe, except much, much bigger. So I never see these broken. And he does have this effect back here to move his arm, but it seems like a waste with that big old thing on there. Anyway, getting into Ogre King. Now, he's expensive because he has a recolor of parts. So if you want to get his hip skirts, he's already hard to find, but You know, the other two, okay, let me back that up. They remade two others. They did Northlord and they did Young Mel Titan. I don't know where it escaped me. But with those, aside from the shield and the projectile, everything else was the same. Like, you had the same sword, you had the same headgear, you had the same waist strap, so you could generally just snag parts of them. For whatever reason, they made this guy into a super bright green and like neon, his neon 90s in the late 80s here with this guy. And so for whatever reason they did that, makes it much harder to track this all down. Now, I guess you could repaint original accessories, but I would not repaint the hip skirt. So this makes this guy far more challenging and expensive to get than the others that are out there. And for that, they also, and let me put this out there, they also know that, hey, there's already an Ogre King, a Young Male Titan, and all that. There's already those on the market, so we're going to make less of that than the new shield shooters and less of this than even a Hawkler. So there's probably more Hawklers in existence than the Ogre King shield shooter. LJN. Alright, so we're getting into Revell's Power Lords. Revell, known for model kits, made this toy line. And it's a pretty sweet little toy line, actually. All these designs are very, very cool. I'm curious to see what Acel does with them, but looking at these two, these are, in my opinion, the most expensive and valuable ones. The hardest ones for me to track down in good condition and get them complete. And yeah, he has another fist that I'm not showcasing. I guess that's a... should have brought that out too. I don't like swapping fists on this guy because the little green plastic likes to break. But this is Back Attack, and this is Torque. So we'll take a look at Back Attack first, who I think is the most expensive and most valuable in the toy line. I think complete runs somewhere. I saw one just sell for a pretty good price, like $130, but he's anywhere between $150 to $300 complete. Depends on a lot of factors, and is anything broken? You see broken ankles a lot of the time. You see this piece broken all the time, and his head. This pack piece here, it's supposed to shoot off, but I can't get that feature to work. He comes with a gun that also can plug into this hole in the side and is holstered, and you can swap out his different hand. So with that cool figure, probably the coolest one of all of them, and such interesting designs. Absolutely love that figure. Then here's Torque, which I really don't understand it. It's just they were coming up with some weird stuff, but you can twist his head back like this, and I don't know if there's like a way to lock it in place. Haven't figured that out. Just let it go. And then there's one head there, so that's one face of his, and then there's his other face. He also comes with this 3-finger attachment, spiky, what's the correct name for that weapon of his? Anyway, this is one of the better looking ones that I own, and it was a hard one to get back in the day. Still pretty challenging. So I think he's about a $100 figure, and I think he's anywhere between $150 and $300 depending on condition. All right, now we're getting into Visionaries, and I gotta say their chest symbols look so much better on camera than in person, and I love that fact. On my shelf I notice all of the well, right here I notice all the imperfections, but anyway. So with Visionaries, the drivers are the most expensive, but Hasbro's done this a lot. A lot of the drivers are the most expensive. You go through, especially in the later years of Joe, the drivers are some of the most expensive vehicles, along with the Melloway figures being expensive, but there were no Melloway figures with this. But let's get into cheapest to most expensive. Ektar pilots the Lancer cycle, is that what it's called, I think? And he has a wolf on his chest, and he looks pretty cool. This is his helmet. I had no trouble finding him in 4 or 5 years ago when I started tracking him down. I got a couple of them so that I can have them on the shelf as a standalone and in his vehicle, which is another problem with drivers. For my display, I wanted drivers in each of the vehicles, and I also wanted the full display of all the characters. So having to seek out more than one, and people get mad at me, I'm like, why do you have more than one? Well, actually, in this case, they're all complete, so you can get mad at me. And here we go with Mordred with a D. Just looking him up, and you leave that D in the middle out, you'll never find him. He's got some sort of creature on his chest. I forget what they call it. Anyway, he has this cool looking weird looking axe looking thing, knife, sword. But he's okay. So he's about a $80 figure. He's about the same range, about $80. Pilots the Skyclaw. I do think that he is a cool looking figure. In fact, as they get more expensive, they look cooler to me. It feels like this next one here, Farrell, has a lot of armor. He pilots drives the capture chariot, and he comes with a helmet, kind of a wolf looking thing on his chest. And then he has this, what it is, like a slingshot that generates this fire and shoots. So the actual weapon itself is this, and this fiery stuff in the middle shouldn't even exist. So it's one of those things that it really feels like they should have made it in two pieces if they did. This dude's already expensive. He's 100 plus, up to, I've seen him for like 180. I don't know if he sells for 180, but I never see him complete for less than 100 anymore. And I actually was, back when I was collecting this hard in the early 20s, he was like a $60 figure. So he's come up quite a bit since then. Riken has always been challenging and expensive, and in the early days I was catching him with like I always do. I'll get a figure with one part and pay a certain amount, or two parts. The three accessories really are his lizard chest totem, his helmet, and his sword. So I'd get one with like maybe a good totem and a sword for $100, and then one with just a helmet for like 80, and then piece me together a complete one. Here's the thing about this though. In the UK, where they shipped it, where most of them got shipped to, they put Farrell's sticker on the gold chest plate. So many people from the UK are trying to find a good lizard totem from the US. That is a problem, and that spiked the price on this guy to about a $500 figure, and now he's down to about $300. And the last one that was $287, it didn't even sell. So prices are falling. This might be a good time to get a Riken, I reckon. Right, so I'm about to catfish you with this, but He-Man, King Randor is my most expensive, valuable figure in the line, and that's not even his real cape, and that's not even his actual spear, even though it is the same mold. But I do have his, the actual figure, actual armor, and his crown. Now, I'm not a big fan of spending a lot of money on Motu figures, because over the years I've noticed that it's just not something that I can get any money back out of if I try to sell it, if I'm done with it. So I'll get them real cheap. I think I got 60 in him, though. He's the most money I've spent on a vintage figure. And I had an opportunity to buy a Scareglow Missing Everything for 40, but this is just good enough for me because it is the Origin, so it's a $20 figure. But you're going to spend a lot of money if you want to get this middle finger from Mad Hatter, and his flip order is an early pre-order middle finger, and giving the middle finger to the man, I guess. I don't know, but fun figure. I don't own an original. Original would be $200, and I think a good condition one of him complete goes for about $200 also. Next up we got Tiger Sharks. This is Dolph and Lorco. These two are definitely the most expensive figures in the toy line. I think he generally runs about 600. He runs about 700 complete. I've seen him sell for 5. I've seen him sell for 3. So I mean, it depends on when you get the deals. Here's the problem: it really doesn't matter how much people put them up for; they sell almost instantly. I saw one of him go for like 700 recently, not complete, and with that, I paid about that for this guy, but this one here I got for 300, so I was pretty happy to get that deal. But these are very expensive. In the toy line, these pop up the least frequently, and to get their accessories, to get all of the hose, you push on this and it shoots, and they're the exact same accessories except he's got a black hose instead of a gray hose. That's really the only difference there with these guys, and the stuff doesn't want to sit on there right. It's just, if I can get it positioned for the display and just leave it, that's how I do it. But Tiger Sharks from LJN, this is Dolph and Lorco, the most expensive in the toy line, and I hope Super 7 comes out with like right out the gate making these with toy version accessories that we can utilize on these figures. Thundercats, we have let's put this guy back here too, Bengali, the most expensive figures in Thundercats, and I'm gonna say this, Stinger is an expensive figure. I think the last one complete with original wings went for 1,400, and you just don't see them with original wings very frequently. And then this one is Driller, and Driller is usually I'd see them for about 300 or 400. Lately, people want 8 for Driller. So this is what he does. Kind of one of those things. It was like a Death Star twirly thing that Taco Bell came out with years ago that does this kind of thing. But getting him to stand once you're done twirling his goofy self is a challenge. I do have a special way I do it in my display. So I'm going to move Driller out of the way, but I think nowadays it's like an $800 figure, which is insane. I paid $350 for mine. And then here is Stinger. Now, Stinger's a complex, different animal. I had to get a couple of few to get one complete with the wings, and I glued my wings in place. I'm pretty pleased with how it works. And even Johnny can't believe how good this is. Johnny fell over. He fainted when he saw how good the wings were, because all these years of them watching me try to get a good one, and they're like, wow, look at this. Look at the wings. These are original wings. They look great. They work great. Fantastic. Anyway, there's Stinger. Now, Bengali is probably the one that scared me the most about collecting Thundercats, because I was watching one of those live streams back in 2020, live sellers, and they were like, they had a Bengali and it went to like $630, and I'm like, what? He's a $300 figure. Might be a little more with an original one of these, but generally $300 figure. A lot of money for a Thundercat to me. Like, and to me, he's not even a big character, but it's more of rarity and just hard to get over here in the US. Probably cheaper to get all of these from the Eurozone country over there, like the UK or something, for all these, for the Thundercats. LJ in line. And one last thing, if you have any idea what this is, if you think it's a toilet paper roll, you're wrong. It is a high-tech Stinger. I forgot how I put it in here. Stinger carrying stand. Yeah. It just gives him a little bit more girth to his tail so he doesn't fall over, because I don't want to damage those wings. Next up we have Remco Karate Kid, and this is these are the 3 most expensive figures that are in the line. I think they generally run 100, maybe 120 complete, 100% complete, but we've got the later version of Crease with his smashing chair, and it does break apart chair, and he has this that's supposed to break it, and a different color gi. Later in the line, later in the series, very hard to get. It took me a while to get him. Miyagi himself, not too expensive of a figure, this one here, but he does kind of like punch to break his log punching, breaking Miyagi. And there's 2 different color variants of this whole log breaking setup right there. So just reverse of the color scheme. So I don't know why they did that or why they do stuff like this. And then the same thing over here. I actually know I have both color schemes of this fence for the Johnny figure, but you got green with yellow. I don't know what I did with the other fence. Just got one on display, and he has this weird ball on a it's just a strange kind of gimmick that they got going on here. But anyway, this is Johnny. Put him in a body bag, Johnny. These are all later figures, and they all have different weird kind of accessories that go with them. But you just don't see them that often. They don't pop up that often because they didn't make very many, because they saw the writing on the wall. And Karate Kid was real hot for a year or two, and then it just kind of got stale. And so did the sales got stale. Next up, we got Tritor and Stingray Johnson from the Captain Power toy line. These are 2 really cool, fun figures. Tritor's kind of a troop builder for the bad guys, for the dreads, and he's got this wing backpack going on and a giant gun. And then this is Stingray with this triple gun that's super ultra fragile, and so is his backpack. And to put this on, I heat it up really good and then put it in place and then hold it there until it cools off. You definitely want to heat this backpack up if you want to put it on. Most people are terrified of putting the Stingray Johnson backpack on him, so good luck. think that he's like a $40 to $60 figure loose, and him probably 60 loose, and depending on condition, all that. Next up, we got Black Star's Mara, and she is kind of a cool figure, actually. This is one of the better looking ones of the ones I have, and she has her hair in the back as a backpack, kind of like a nice blue. Then she has her aura, so it's like her mental power. She's got mind powers, so she'll probably be getting a leg lamp this Christmas. But then she has this energy beam that shoots out strange accessories that go with her, but a cool figure nonetheless. Most expensive. I'm sorry to say that the last one that I saw sell complete wasn't even in the US, and it was $450. I did not pay anything near that for her, but again, bought her a long time ago, and with that, this is my best looking one. Very, very pleased with how good she still looks after all these years. She stays in shape, Mara. Next up, we got, this is Luco Over the Top from that Stallone movie, and these are the two hardest figures to get. This is Cleve Armbender, who currently right now is the harder one to get, because there's actually a Bob crud, I forgot his name. Bob Bull Hurley. Alright, so this is a very expensive figure. The one on eBay right now for Bob Bull Hurley is a $300 figure, but he is in rough shape. Generally he goes for north of $500 in good shape like this. And yeah, so I paid considerably more than $500 for mine. But my first one I got with the package, and then the second one I got for like $300. This one here. So then this guy, I think I was like $330, $350, something like that. At the end of the day, though, these are not cheap figures to get, and nowadays prices are climbing on them. But there's some deals on some ones that maybe you could do some custom paint job on the one that's on eBay. The cheap one on eBay. But Luca Over the Top. Next up, we're getting close to the end of this. Rambo, Force of Freedom by Coleco, Wave 2, Series 2. These are the two hardest ones to get. And I want to say X-Ray is the coolest figure in the whole toy line. But Dr. Hyde is really close. There's light piping. I don't know if I'll be able to get that to show up on here without, I don't have another source of light. So, and his gun is really hard to get with the whole barrel on it. Took me a while to get one with the barrel, so that was a challenge. So I had to get more than one to get one complete. And then there's his little axe on his holster there. He has a hose. He got hose in the back. And then this missile launching arm, which I'm afraid to move too much because they do break real easy. And let's see if the missile launching action still works. So that's part of the reason I like to get these figures out. Wow. Awesome looking figure, amazing condition. I paid $330 for him. Way too much. I've seen him for $180, but I just had to get him. Now I do have a second one that I had built this over time, but Vintage Toy Rush, Dave over there sent me a part. So I originally had his on mine. Then I've got a second one to build this with a better arm. But I saw what happens to them if you're not careful. They break real easy. So really scary messing with that dude. Same over here. The scariest part about him is this tiny little gun that gets lost real easy. Generally, he was like $100 figure for a while. And I could find them that they'd be $50 if they light up. And I got a couple that light up now. There's his gun. His gun will also clip here to the back of his backpack. His backpack looks like the oxygen tank and stuff going on. But the tiny little gun, a snub nose gun, is hard to get, and having them light up is hard to get. Just so much about him. Now he's like a $200 figure, so he's about $200, and he still pushes $350. Complete, working. I'm so happy to have these, and I'm so glad I don't need to chase them down anymore. All right, so next up, the most expensive figures in the toy line are for Laser Command, and there's the crate. This is not a video about vehicles, it's about figures, and I figure even this Wolf Beast Miles Mayhem is also very expensive. So these might be in the same realm of expensive. He might actually be more expensive. The actual Wolf Beast 100% complete with the figures might cost as much as a Laser Command 100% complete. and working. So it's one of those really weird things that these are the most expensive ones, but these are literally just repaints, as opposed to this guy being a whole new figure. And so that's what kind of blows my mind. The reason I didn't take that one out of there, I'm using the one I have on display, is because of the fact that that door only opens if you activate it. Now, I am going to try something fun with Laser Command. So this is Matt Tracker, this is Miles Mayhem. Same exact figures. I'm going to see if the light activates it. It did before, but I've changed out my light, so let's see. No longer, my light's no longer bright enough to make this work. And push a little button on here. Yeah, good old times. Anyway, these figures generally run 60 to 150, depending on who's selling them and whatever, but I think they're worth 60 with the mask each. Probably best value, just buy a complete Laser Command. That's my advice. Next up, the most expensive figure in the Centurions line is the Traumatizer. This is a figure that has traumatized me for a while. I do have a nice little army of them now. These are my two best. I did piece them together. I've been piecing them together since 2018 and getting me some decent ones. There's a couple problems with this figure. Number one, he was a Sears exclusive, so very limited in run, far more limited than the rest of the line. Also the fact that this missile comes up missing a lot. Missing missile. But also has these two guns that are a pain. So there's a lot about this figure that is a challenge. But at the end of the day, it is a really cool figure. I do like him, and I like the army troop building aspect of him. And the posability options are not the greatest in the world. Probably not doing this thing justice, but I did change the way I display my shelf of them. So now I guess it looks like I got two leaders leading the whole troops. But Centurions Traumatizer, they go anywhere from 500 to 800, and with a box like 1200. Very, very challenging. I did not pay that much. I had paid over 500 for a couple of mine because I wanted the boxes and paperwork and pristine condition, and no, I have original missiles and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, Traumatizer. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this look at the rarest vintage figures in the Tidarium Hangers collection, and I'm kind of curious, did you like this kind of video? Is this kind of content what you like to watch? I make this content because I enjoy watching videos like this. I enjoy learning. I enjoy finding out more stuff about vintage toys. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and Tidarium Hanger out.